Hey guys, what's going on? This is Nick here with Spark Gap Garage. Today I am working on my 2008 Chrysler 300c, aka Midnight Special. There she is. I have to replace both of the front calipers on her because of some wear and tear that happened this past race season. So this is going to be a step-by-step tutorial on how I like to replace the calipers. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Throw a thumbs up, help my channel out a little bit more. I'm trying to get to about 50 subscribers by the end of this summer. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right guys, so this is the driver's side front caliper. Needs to come off because the rubber boot around the piston that moves in and out basically got destroyed because while racing, the rotor here and the brake pads got really hot, and for obvious reasons, rubber and heat don't go well together. So basically where I start is I like to get the brake line off, and I'll show you this here. This is the new assembly. So you got your brake line bolt here, your bleeder right here, and then this is what I was talking about, 13 millimeter bolts here and here. And then you're gonna pull it off the slider. So basically you wanna have a catch pan of sorts underneath. I'm just using an old Tupperware thing that I used for coolant a while back. It's just gonna be a little tight. It's okay. Oh, she is. These copper gaskets, if you will, they're basically just copper washers. These copper washers grip onto the banjo style brake line, and that's what seals it. You just crush the crap out of them, and that's what seals them up. Okay, so with that was a 10 millimeter brake line bolt. Oh, got more brake fluid on my fingers. Nice. Now you're gonna go to a 13 millimeter. And I've already gotten these broken loose, but a 13 millimeter bolt on the upper and lower sliders. I call them sliders. So once you get them out, this is what I wanted to show you. See if I can get it. I'm sure you can see. No, probably not. Hold on. You can see the boot around the left one on how it's nice and crusty and like basically disintegrating. That's caused by the heat, and that's not good. Now, these brake pads look bad. These are actually racing brake pads. They're my G-Lock brakes that I have. I'm not going to get into that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do on my little bracket here, or my new assembly, is get that prepped, and then I'll bring it back. I was gonna say this, let's see if I can bring you in. To get this bracket off, I believe they're 18 millimeter bolts. You probably can't see them right now. Let me see this new assembly. Put you back down, sorry guys. You can see right here and here. So it's gonna sit on the wheel like so, but if you can reference this, you should see, I think they're 18 millimeter bolts. You just back those out and literally this entire assembly can come out. So you don't even really have to dick around with getting the caliper off and this and that. But what you might run into trouble is when you go to put your brake shoes or new ones into this assembly. So this is actually the preferred method I like to do, is get this thing apart, caliper off the bracket, and then go from there. So I'm halfway getting part of the way getting this bracket off. I do want to point out that if you guys are needing to replace your rotors, this is the time to do it. Now, a good key idea is to know, or just do this, just bring that rotor to whatever store you go to, that way they can match up the diameter of your hub, and then you can put it back on. So I'm going to finish getting this off, and we'll go from there. So, like I said, 18 millimeter bolts.
Almost done. And if they're old like mine was a bear, it get broken loose.
But there's that, mister, that's that. brake pads are not that bad. And then these are the 18mm bolts. I'm gonna clean these up with a wire wheel, that way I don't have any issues later on. And then same thing with the rotor. I'm gonna use brake clean and around the mating surfaces. Now, I feel down them. I don't feel grooves, all that many grooves. There are a couple, but they're not like deep. And that'll allow me to reuse my brake pads if they're still good or used like mine are. You can go ahead and reuse them, but if there's deep grooves in your rotor, that's when I would replace it, and this would be the perfect time to do so. So I'm actually not going to bother with that. Yeah, weight reduction, right? Yeah, love it. So now at this point in time, I'm just going to take this entire assembly and literally just bolt it up, but I'm going to try to wire wheel these off just a little bit on the threads. That way there's no rust. These stick through, as you can tell, to the elements, and that's why these get a little rusty and crusty. But yeah, I'll bring you guys back once I get to installing this on there, and then I'll do the brake pad install. All right, guys. All right, guys, so we are back. I just finished up wire wheeling. I just literally took my little drill with a wire wheel on here, cleaned up the threads. So now we are ready to install this entire bracket. If you are just replacing the caliper, go ahead and skip a little forward to where you just see me installing the bracket, or not the bracket, the caliper. But if you're replacing this entire assembly, just, you know, keep watching. So, and you should see how they go on. It's kind of hard to do with one hand.
There it isn't. I always start these by hands, never, ever, ever freaking just gun them on, because then you're going to cross over them, and then you're going to blame me, and then I'm going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I never cry.
Okay, so now that I'm done fighting with that, or arguing with it, we're going to take our 18mm socket. I lied. We should probably get the caliper off.
To gain access to those, gain access to them, 18mm a little easier. Size is a little backwards, confusing, or whatever. There's a method in my madness, I promise. I swear. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. You guys can yell at me. So.
Oh, that works. We'll do that. Okay, so now these 18mm bolts, I'll bring you in real fast so you can see them. Maybe not. Maybe I'm a liar. There is one down there, and then the other up here. And you can see how the bracket just sits on the inside towards the rotor, in between the rotor and that bracket. And that's where those 18mm bolts thread into. So now at this point, what I'm gonna do is grab my 18mm socket and go ahead and install.
I like that I was looking down at it and punching myself in the face. That was awesome. It was very smart, right? Okay, so now I'm doing the top one. So I make sure everything is being started. Watch out for that speed sensor wire, the wheel speed sensor wire, and the brake line.
Just gonna tighten them down just good enough. Okay. So now, if you're gonna install this, this is where you wanna pick up at. Make sure you're jumping the gun here. Make sure your brake, oh God, I can't speak. Your brake doohickeys, these guys are in there. All right, so what I am doing at this point is adding a little anti-seize. These just sit down there in like this. Can't get it wrong. Well, I mean, you can get it wrong. Just a little anti-seize in here. and that's for aiding the brake shoes to slide back and forth when the brake pedal is released and pressed. Okay, so now that I'm making myself mad, there it isn't. Okay, now that I'm done jumping the gun, now you can add your brake shoes to your doodads. Same thing over here. For the guys that are just replacing your calipers, I apologize. I'm a wreck today. Okay, now that we have my brain together, now we're gonna install this. We got the brake shoes, everything's torqued down. Those two 18mm bolts are torqued down. These sliders are nice and loose. These came pre-lubed up. I'm good with it. So now I'm gonna go ahead and add this doodad onto them. So what you're gonna do is put these over here, and you might have to squish in your sliders, and they'll sit on there like that, and then you'll add your 13mm bolts. A key thing that I like to do, I don't have to do it because I already added the anti-seize. The mating surface between the brake pad and these fingers here, add a little anti-seize there, and then on the face of the piston that makes contact with the brake shoe, put a little anti-seize on there, and that way when you go to remove them the next time, then it's a little easier. But I'm not gonna do that because I've already done that. So now you add your 13mm bolts. So that's actually what I'm gonna do. You might have to hold that nut or the slider with a wrench. Literally, I'm just gonna tighten it down like that. Like that. There we go. Okay. So now that's that. What we're gonna do is re-add our brake lines, and I'm probably gonna try to get these washers off somehow, some way. And this is my upgraded stainless steel braided brake line. So typically your new assembly will come with a brand new OEM, oh, my pants are catching on fire because of this 9,000 degree light that I got right here. You got these OEM bolts going into the caliper, and then your new washers. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get these off. It's literally, you just grab a flathead screwdriver or something and pry at it, and they should pop off, but I'm not gonna film that. So I'll bring you guys back when I go to install this. So you're just gonna, it's very simple. Try to start the threads. Take your time. Don't force this in there at all. Literally walk it in with your ratchet. If it feels like it's cross-threading, stop, because trust me, it's going to leak. Now, I'm going to tighten this down relatively tight. And I'm smashing down the copper. All right, I feel like if I go any further, I will bust that thing, so I don't want to do that. So now I'm just looking everything over. This assembly, once you get everything torqued down to spec, your 13mm caliper bolts torqued down to spec, your 18mm bolts if you're replacing this entire assembly, get that torqued down to spec, and then also your brake line bolt, get that torqued down to spec, and then now at that point you are ready to bleed brakes. I'm going to be doing a separate video on that because I'm actually going to be doing one step further and doing a entire brake system flush. Because as you can imagine, racing or hard driving, if you're one of them people, can cause your brake fluid to heat up and cool down, which causes moisture in your lines. And if you know, water's not good in the brake system. So that's basically where I'm at with that. I need to get all this old brake fluid out, and yeah, that'll be in a different video or a separate video, because this one's probably long enough, but I'm sure I entertained you with my obnoxiousness. Hey guys, so this is the torque specs for the caliper. Real fast, your bolts here for your caliper to your bracket, that is going to be 44 foot-pounds. Your 18 millimeter bolts for your brackets onto your knuckles, that there is 70 foot-pounds. And then your banjo bolt here, that there is, there's different specs for a 2005 front and rear model 300s. It's 32 foot-pounds. For a 2006 to 2014 models, except SRT8s, these are not for SRT8s, it is 37 foot-pounds.